Europe has always been home to some of the most underrated cars in the whole world. Cars that don't scream for attention, but the moment you see them, you just know they have presence. They are powerful, stylish, and packed with character, yet most people completely overlook them. Today, I'm gonna show you 6 underrated Euro cars that fly under the radar but deserve every bit of respect. These are the cars that don't get the attention that they deserve. So let's get into it. Let's kick off the list with a car that was criminally overlooked when it was new. The Alfa Romeo GT 3.2-liter V6. This is one of those cars that never tried to impress everyone, and because of that, most people completely missed it. It wasn't trying to be a hardcore sports car, and it wasn't trying to be a luxury coupe either. It just existed quietly, with Italian confidence. Designed by Bertone, the Alfa GT has the timeless Italian shape. Frameless doors, a muscular rear, and a clean, elegant profile that still looks good today. It's not aggressive, but it has presence. It's the kind of car that you look back at after parking it. But the real reason this car belongs to this list is under the hood. The 3.2-liter Basso V6 is one of the best engines ever made. Naturally aspirated, producing around 240 horsepower with 300 Nm of torque, and it sounds absolutely insane. This engine doesn't just make noise, it sings. It is very smooth at low revs, angry at high revs, and full of character everywhere in between. In a world full of turbocharged 4 cylinders, this thing feels alive. Inside, the Alfa GT keeps things simple and driver-focused. Classic gauges, sporty seating position, and just enough luxury to make it comfortable. It's not perfect, but it doesn't want to be. And now let's talk about the price. If you wanna go for a genuinely clean example, you can look at the 10,000 euro territory. And yes, I know it is not cheap, but it is definitely worth it. That means you can still buy a beautiful Italian coupe with a legendary V6 engine and real character for the price of a basic modern hatchback. And yes, the Alfa GT is not a 500 horsepower supercar, but it will definitely make you feel alive as soon as you smash that throttle. And if you care about sound, feeling, and driving something with soul, this is one of the most underrated Euro cars you can buy right now. And if you're already talking about smashing the throttle, you can do the same with the like button down below. And if you're already there, just hit subscribe so you can help my channel grow. It is free and it helps me a lot. But now let's get back to the 5th place. So this is a car that for some reason is not very popular, although it looks very cool, and it also has a powerful 2-liter TFSI engine. This is the 3rd generation Volkswagen Scirocco. This car is basically a better looking Golf, but for some reason nobody really cares about it. When Volkswagen brought the Scirocco back in 2008, it was definitely a beauty. Low roofline, wide stance, frameless doors, and a sporty profile that instantly separates it from regular hatchback. It looks aggressive without trying too hard, and even today it doesn't feel outdated. It wasn't chasing supercar numbers or internet hype. It was designed to be a proper driver-focused coupe. Inside, it's classic Volkswagen. Solid build quality, clean layout, and everything exactly where it should be. Nothing fancy, nothing dramatic, but it feels well made and purposeful. The seating position is low and sporty, and the visibility is surprisingly good for a coupe. You could get it with a range of TSI engines, but the real sweet spot is a 2-liter TSI, especially in the higher output version. 200 horsepower, huge tuning potential, and great everyday usability. And if you went with the Scirocco R, you got the 265 horsepower, stronger brakes, and a proper performance setup. Despite sadly being only front-wheel drive, the Scirocco handles extremely well. It's stable, confident, and fun, while still being comfortable enough for daily driving. It's one of those cars that feels right the moment you start driving. Yes, I know an all-wheel drive example like the Golf R would be cooler, but for the front-wheel drive lovers, this one is a perfect car. And let's not forget about that this is the reason why it is so underrated. Now, price-wise, expect to pay around 10,000 euros for the 2-liter TSI and around 13 to 14,000 euros for the Scirocco R. But if you wanna go for the 2-liter TDI or a simpler petrol engine, you can find them around 3 to 4,000 euros also. Yes, I know this is not the best on the list, but let's continue because the next one is a true powerhouse. So next up is a car that doesn't get talked about nearly enough, even though it started something very important. This is the Mercedes C36 AMG. This was the first real AMG back when AMG still felt underground. Before the crazy horsepower numbers, before the wide bodies and launch control, this was AMG doing things the old school way. The C36 AMG came out in 1993 and was based on the W202 C-Class. This car was born to defeat the BMW M3. From the outside it looks almost normal. Slightly lower, subtle AMG bumpers, discreet badges, and classic modern proportions. Nothing flashy, and that's exactly the point. This car didn't need to shout. Under the hood sits a 3.6-liter naturally aspirated inline-6 producing 276 horsepower and 385 Nm of torque. At that time this was serious performance, especially for a compact executive sedan. Power was sent to the rear wheels through an automatic gearbox tuned by AMG to handle the extra torque. The driving experience is where the C36 really shines. It feels like a proper Mercedes first and the performance car second. You can cruise quietly all day and then effortlessly overtake anything when you need to. Inside, it's classic 90s Mercedes quality. Thick leather, real wood trim, solid buttons, and that unmistakable bank vault feeling. Everything feels heavy, durable, and built to last. This was back when Mercedes cared more about engineering than touchscreens. And here's why the C36 AMG is underrated. It gets overshadowed by the later C43 and the C55 AMG, and people forget that without the C36, none of those cars would exist. This was the blueprint, the first AMG that Mercedes fully stood behind. Today the C36 AMG is still relatively affordable compared to the classic AMGs. Clean examples are becoming rare, but prices haven't completely skyrocketed yet. If you look at the market, you can find them around 13 to 15,000 euros, but if you want one, you better act quickly because some examples are hitting 30 to 40,000 euros even. The Mercedes C36 AMG isn't about drama. It's about confidence, refinement, and subtle performance. And sadly, that is exactly why it deserves a spot on the list. Alright, so now a car that is very special for me. This is the Audi S8 D2. Although it is a second generation A8 platform, this was the very first S8 that Audi made. It was produced between 1996 and 2003, and it was absolutely brutal. A 4.2-liter naturally aspirated V8 was the heart of this elegant luxury sports sedan, producing 364 horsepower and a 5.6-second 0 to 60 time. For a 1,730 kilogram monstrosity, these figures were incredible. This insane 4.2 V8 was paired with quattro-wheel drive, of course, and back then this was proper high-end performance. Effortless speed, zero drama, just pure power and safety in every single weather condition. From the outside, it's pure understatement. Clean lines, aluminum body, subtle S8 badges, slightly wider stance. It looks like a regular executive sedan, but there's something about it that feels serious. Like it's always on a mission. This wasn't a loud sports sedan. It didn't need to be. The driving experience is all about confidence. The S8 feels planted and incredibly stable at high speeds. Autobahn cruising is where it feels most at home. Inside this classic Audi luxury, dark leather, brushed aluminum trim, simple and functional designs. No gimmick, no distractions, just a cockpit built for long distance, high speed travel. It feels like a car that's designed for people who doesn't talk about what they do. And today the S8 D2 is shockingly underrated. You can find them between 5 to 8,000 euros, but if you want a genuinely clean example, then the 10,000 euro territory is what you're gonna need to look for. The S8 D2 is an amazing car, and if you think about what they offer, a V8, quattro, aluminum chassis and timeless design, you can't overlook it anymore. It's a car that doesn't beg for attention, it commands it, and that's exactly why the Audi S8 D2 deserves its place on this list. Alright, so next up is a car that lives in the shadows of the BMW M5, and that is exactly why it is underrated. This is the BMW 550i E60. When people talk about the E60 generation, they immediately jump to the V10 M5, but the 550i is the one that you actually want to live with, the baby M5 if you like. Under the hood is a 4.8-liter naturally aspirated V8 producing around 362 horsepower and 490 Nm of torque. No turbos, just smooth instant torque. It doesn't shout, it just moves, and it moves fast. The 550i was available with a manual gearbox, which already makes it special, but even the automatic suits the car perfectly. This is a high-speed executive sedan, not a track weapon. The design is still controversial, and that's part of its charm. The E60 looks sharp, aggressive, and slightly angry. Especially in darker colors, it has a don't follow me presence. It doesn't try to look elegant, it looks confident. And yes, I know the E60 in general is mainly used by people who don't give a about it and just wanna look rich, but that's exactly why people overlook it. But trust me, that's only true for the smaller engines. Once someone sees and hears a 550i, they instantly know it's not just another rusty old BMW. Inside its peak mid-2000s BMW, driver-focused cockpit, solid materials, and that early iDrive system that everyone complained about, but honestly, it was ahead of its time. The seats are comfortable, supportive, and made for long drives at illegal speeds. Compared to the M5, the 550i is calmer, more reliable, and way more usable. You get a V8 soundtrack, rear-wheel drive balance, and classic BMW handling without the stress of maintaining a V10 that can explode in a second. And today this car is an absolute bargain. You can find solid ones for around 7 to 8,000 euros, but if you wanna be safe and go for the really clean ones, you are looking at around 10 to 12,000 euros. But for the price of a basic economic car, you get a V8 powered 5 Series that still feels fast, solid, and genuinely special. And that is crazy. The E60 550i isn't about flexing. It's about comfort, speed, and presence, knowing that you chose the smarter V8 instead of having a V10 constantly in the workshop. And finally at number 1 we have a car that perfectly blends underrated design, insane performance, and pure Euro aura, the Audi RS6 C5. From the outside it looks like a big practical estate car. Nothing flashy, nothing screaming for attention, just a clean, dark-colored Avant that could easily pass as a regular family wagon. Until you press the gas pedal. And yes, you had to go for the Avant. The sedan also looks cool, but the Avant was the main character. Under the hood sits a 4.2-liter twin-turbo V8 producing around 450 horsepower and 560 Nm of torque. And remember, this was back in the early 2000s. That's supercar power hiding in a station wagon. The RS6 C5 could hit 100 km in about 4.6 seconds, all while still carrying the groceries and your kids. Of course, it comes with quattro-wheel drive as standard, giving it incredible traction at any condition, and well-tuned suspension that makes it handle like a proper sports car despite its size. You drive it and suddenly you realize how absurdly capable it is. The interior is classic Audi, high quality and perfectly functional. Leather, carbon trim, and the driver-focused cockpit. It's quiet, it's professional, it's subtle, but it hides a true beast underneath. People see a regular wagon and assume it's harmless. Only a few realize that they are dealing with one of the fastest and most capable cars of its time. And today, the RS6 C5 is still shockingly underrated. Price-wise, it is not that very cheap, but compared to modern high-performance estates, it is still attainable. Clean examples are around 10 to 13,000 euros, which is basically a bargain for what you're getting, but if you're willing to pay some more, then 15,000-16,000 euro mark is your safe space. If you see one on the road, you know one thing. This is a car with presence, attitude, and hidden power that commands respect. And that is exactly why the Audi RS6 C5 takes the top underrated car on the list. So that is it for today. Hopefully you discovered a car that you didn't expect to love, or maybe a hidden gem you've always wanted to drive. Which one was your favorite? Drop it in the comment sections down below, and if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to smash that like button, and also if you're there, just hit subscribe so you won't miss the next one, and you can also help the channel grow. So thank you guys so much for watching, and now all you have to do is stay very positive, drive safe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye!